In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Marianne's guests are leaders in their field, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in their own work. They teach others to develop, refocus, and grow. Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. And remember, make every moment count.
Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'd like to introduce my very special guest, Bob Burg. Now, many of you know Bob from one of his many best-selling books, or maybe you've heard him speak at a convention or conference. But if you haven't, Bob has a way of galvanizing people towards a greater level of success, regardless what industry they're in. Now, many of you know I made a transition to become self-employed over 13 years ago. Bob's books helped me shape how my business was going to look and also how I wanted to show up for my clients and customers. I'm excited to share this time together with someone who's really impacted my life in such a profound way. So welcome to the show, Bob.
Thank you, Marianne. It's so great to be with you.
Well, thank you. Well, you've got so many amazing books available right now. The one that really made an impact on my life was The Go-Giver when I first got into business many moons ago. and and also hearing you speak at a conference. And back in the day when I first started to become a self-employed person, I was with an insurance company, and you were the keynote speaker, and you did an amazing job.
Oh, thank you.
And I saw the difference that you made in people's lives from the speech that you gave. You just galvanized the crowd.
Wow, thank you. I appreciate that. You just made my day.
Well, you've made a lot of people's lives. So I don't want to get the cart too far ahead of the horse here because, we do have some wonderful things to talk about. But with The Go-Giver, I wanted you to take a moment and talk to our audience, maybe if they're not familiar with your book or maybe they need a refresher. Let's talk a little bit about it and the 5 laws of success that are associated with that.
Yeah, well, The Go-Giver itself is a business parable, so it's a kind of a short, fun story, co-authored with John David Mann, who was really the lead writer and storyteller. He's just a terrific writer. You know me, I'm more of a how-to person. I'm step 1, step 2, step 3, and my other books were all like that. But John really knows how to weave a story, so we collaborated on that one. And it's about a guy, a young business person by the name of Joe. And Joe is a good guy. He's young, he's ambitious, he's aggressive, he's racing for the top, and has good intent. But, he's very self-focused. It's all about Joe, right? It's very, everything's about me. Who owes Joe what, and what Joe has done for this person, so this person now needs to do for Joe. And he's kind of confused as to why, even though he's working so hard, he's really not having the kind of success he feels he deserves. And one day he meets a gentleman by the name of Pindar who becomes a mentor to him and introduces him to some others. And Joe learns 5 laws that you referred to. But what it really comes down to is an overall shift in focus. It's understanding that when we shift our focus from ourselves to the other person, in other words, shifting from getting to giving. And when we say giving in this context, we simply mean constantly and consistently providing value to others. And doing so is not only a nice way to do business, but it's a very financially profitable way as well. And it's not for any kind of woo-woo reasons like, just be good to people and do for others and things. No, it's not. I mean, that's always good, but that's not why this works. It's because really, when you think of it, and I often say this when I speak at sales conferences, nobody's going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet. They're not going to buy from you because you need the money, and they're not even going to buy from you because you think you have the best product in the world and that they should have it. They're going to buy from you only because they believe that they're better off by doing so than by not doing so. And that's the only reason they should buy from you. And so because of this, it very naturally figures that the person who goes in there very focused on themselves, very money motivated, or very much, well, I need this commission, well, they're not going to do as well because that person understands it's really not about them. But when that person goes in there and totally, absolutely is laser focused on bringing value to that other person, that person knows they have their best interest at heart. That person knows they can trust that person. That person's much more likely to want to do business with you.
You know, and it really does boil down to relationships. Are you saying
it does.
Having that relationship and putting that person first, because, you know, as I'm kind of just ad-libbing here a little bit, but the whole, I mean, the other person only about what is going on in their world and their issues and their things, you know, so.
Yeah. Well, you know, Dale Carnegie, I think in his classic How to Win Friends and Influence People, he said many things that were brilliant, but I think the underlying premise of that book, and I think this was so brilliant, was when he wrote, ultimately, people do things for their reasons, not our reasons. And that's okay. It's understanding that aspect of human nature, which, by the way, it's not a bad thing to know that people do things for their reasons, because remember, it all comes down to what their reasons are. You know, someone can say, well, what about a person who writes a big check to the local humane society? They're not doing it for their reasons. They're doing it for the animals' reasons. No, they're their reasons. Their reasons. They're doing it because their value system is such that they feel better about themselves. There is much higher value to them in giving that money away to the Humane Society than in not doing so. So we're always motivated by our values. And I always say that, you know, happiness can be defined as a genuine and ongoing feeling of peace of mind based on living congruently with one's values. So when we understand human nature and we don't try and deny it or work against it, but rather work within it, that's when we're going to be successful. You know, I always look at selling. I define selling as simply discovering what the other person wants, needs, or desires and helping them to get it. And, you know, you were a hugely successful insurance professional. Now you're a hugely successful coach and publicist. Well, you know that your goal is to make your clients happy. and you know, so you're always doing that by providing value to others. And to do that, you can't be focused on yourself. You can't be. You must be focused genuinely and authentically on who you're trying to serve.
Oh, definitely. And, you know, and had a lot of great inspiration along the way.
Well, we all have, fortunately we all have. We've all been able to, tap into mentors, whether it was through, books or seminars or, people who've been our sales managers or teachers and parents, and it's great that we can all really leverage such wonderful inspiration from others and teachings.
Oh, definitely. Well, and, just from living it, listening to you speak and, getting the book and following those principles along in my business life, and then also teaching that to the people, I guess, within a very short time, they made me a manager. And,
yeah, I'll bet.
And in 2007, they awarded me a Lexus of my choice. So I had a lot of responsibility, but it really is a paradigm shift when you're kind of new to business, or maybe you've been in it for a while and not really seen a level of success like how Joe was in your book.
Right.
And I really strongly believe that every sales department should be buying your book and giving it to their new sales agents, to help them because perspective is really everything.
Well, it all starts, it always starts from a premise, a way of looking at the world, a frame, if you will. Mm-hmm. And it's difficult to come to all the logic in the world, and I certainly didn't make this up. It's been said many times that all the logic in the world, if not based on a correct premise, you still won't have the right conclusion.
Yeah. Well, and so we'll go over the laws that you have with the book, because I just think I don't think they can be said enough. We'll just put it that way. And I still highly encourage everyone to purchase the book. And you've got many. I mean, this isn't your only book. You've got many amazing books. And we're going to be talking about a few of them today. So the first law is the law of value. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this one, the law of value says that your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. Now, this sounds very counterintuitive when you first hear it. Think about it. What does that even mean? Give more in value than I take in value? How am I supposed to stay in business? How am I supposed to survive in business, never mind thrive, if I'm giving more in value than I take in payment? Kind of sounds like a recipe for bankruptcy. So how do we square that? Well, we need to understand the difference between price and value. And the difference is actually very important and very significant. See, price is a dollar amount. It's a dollar figure. It's finite. It is what it is. Value, on the other hand, is the relative worth or desirability of a thing, of something, to the end user or beholder. In other words, what is it about this thing, this product, service, concept, idea, what have you, that brings with it so much worth or value to someone that they will willingly exchange their money for it and be very happy that they did, while you also make a very healthy profit. Can I give you a quick example of how that might look?
Please do. Yeah.
Let's say you hire an accountant to do your taxes. And this accountant charges you, and we'll just name a round figure, $1,000. That's his fee, or literally his price, $1,000. But what is he giving you? What value is he giving you in exchange for this $1,000 price? Well, from his years and years of study and practice and learning the business, from his desire to get to know you and get to know your business and what you're looking to accomplish, he is able to save you $5,000 in taxes. He also saves you countless hours of time. Well, you know what else? He is able to provide you and your family with the peace of mind of knowing that it was done correctly. So what we see here first is that again, value can be both concrete in terms of that $5,000 savings. I mean, it's pretty easy to wrap our arms around that one, but it can also be conceptual in terms of the peace of mind and security that he's provided you. So what he did is he gave you well over $5,000 in value between the savings and the peace of mind and the time saved. He's given you well over $5,000 in what's called use value in exchange for a $1,000 price or cash value. So you feel terrific about it. You got much more in value than what you paid in price. You feel great about it. And he also made a very, very healthy profit, because it's well worth it to him to sell his services for what he was able to do for $1,000. So both of you came out ahead. Now, the only reason this was able to happen is because of the focus he placed on benefiting you. This is why we say that money is simply an echo of value. Money is an echo of value. It's the thunder, if you will, to value's lightning, which means nothing more than that the value must come first, and the money you receive is simply a very natural and direct result of the value you've provided. And the neat thing about this is that, in a free market-based exchange where neither party is forced to do business with one another, they both do so willingly, both parties profit. Both parties come away from the transaction better off than they were before it, which is what happened here. So you're not giving more than you get. You're giving more in value than you take in payment.
And that's so important. I think a lot of times people get hung up on the price, and they'll look for the cheapest, alternative. And, from reading your book and just, being in business the time that I have, I don't mind paying somebody, a very fair and a little bit, above wage for what it is that they provide, whatever service they provide for me, because a lot of times the value that they provide is well beyond any of the money.
Sure, absolutely. Now, the thing is, though, and I agree with you totally, it's up to the salesperson, though, to be able to communicate that value. Because, let's face it, the technology has leveled off the playing field. I mean, most products and services are now pretty equal. Let's put it this way, they all work at this point, right? There's not a whole big differentiation in the product or service itself. And so any buyer, most buyers, when there's no other difference, when there's no other discernible difference in their minds, they're naturally going to go with who has the lowest price. I mean, that makes sense. So it's up to the salesperson to be able to communicate why the value you are providing is above and beyond the intrinsic value of the product or service itself. So otherwise what happens is you play that deadly game of who can lower their price the most, and that's not a good way to do business. I always say, unless your last name is Walmart, trying to make low price your unique selling proposition is not a good idea. When you sell on low price, when you sell on price, you are a commodity. When you sell on value, you are a resource. So what we need to do is often, because the products are generally pretty much the same, in order to communicate that additional value that will help someone be able to understand why they should pay you more than your competitor, to communicate that extra value, we need to be that additional value. And there are probably hundreds of ways to communicate value, but they tend to fall under 5 what we call elements of value. And those 5 are excellence, consistency, attention, empathy, and appreciation. And to the degree that you can communicate those 5 at every touch point, that's when you've now taken price out of the picture. And that's what you want to be able to do.
Well, and that makes so much sense, because really people want that if it's an ongoing service, if you're a salesperson, sure, you have an ongoing service, it really is that value that you establish with the client. So that way when they look at you, it's like, I know I can call this person and mm-hmm. they're going to be there and help mm-hmm. me through whatever issues or challenges that come up.
Oh, that's where trust comes in, and that's certainly a very big aspect of this.
Oh, definitely. Well, and then the next law you have is, and we're not going to go through all of them because I really feel that our listeners need to go and buy your book. There's so much value in this. So the next law we have here is the law of compensation.
Sure. The law of compensation says that your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. So where law number 1 says to give more in value than you take in payment, law number 2 tells us that the more people whose lives we add that kind of exceptional value to, the more money with which we'll be rewarded. If we go back to our accountant, your accountant in the first example, he did a great job of giving you more in value than he took in payment. So if you're his customer or client, the chances are you're very happy with him. You would do business with him again, and you would most likely refer him to others. And the chances are great that his other clients feel the same way. So our accountant is very quickly amassing what we call an army of personal walking ambassadors. And as he continues to add that kind of exceptional value to the lives of more and more people, his income will continue to grow and grow. In the story, Nicole Martin, the CEO, tells Joe, the protege, that law number one, the law of value, while it's very, very important, it's the foundational principle, it's not enough in and of itself to result in a high income. The part that does is how many lives you impact, and that's where law number two comes into play. It's not just the great value that's important, but just providing great value to one person isn't going to probably do it, right? It's also being able to touch the lives of many, many people with that exceptional value. This is why referrals are such an important part of building a highly profitable and fun business. Referred prospects are generally easier to set the appointment with, right, because you're going in on borrowed influence. With referred prospects, generally speaking, price is less of an issue. That doesn't mean it's a non-issue or not an issue, but with referred prospects, it's typically less of an issue. Again, you're going in on borrowed influence, so you can sell on value rather than price, which we discussed earlier. With referred prospects, it's typically easier to complete the sale or close the sale. Why? Because you're going in on borrowed trust, or what we call vicarious experience. While this person hasn't done business with you before, someone who they know, like, and trust, who has referred you to them, has. And so they have that confidence. It's the ultimate in what Dr. Robert Cialdini in his excellent book Influence calls social proof. And the reason number four for regarding referrals is that referred prospects are already of the mindset that that's how you do business, since that's how they met you. So they tend to be much more willing to refer you to others, because to them it's just in their belief system, their frame, it's simply the way you do business. So what we want to do within laws 1 and 2, value and compensation, is not only provide exceptional value, we always want to do that, but also be able to impact the lives of many people with that value.
Well, Dina, and I think it was such a nice refresher to reread your book, because I read it many years ago, and to reread The Go-Giver. And on that point with the law of compensation and value and referrals, it's really interesting looking back. I have not done any advertising in the last 5 years. All of my business comes from referrals. Mm-hmm. So when people, they refer their friends and their family and other people they know, or people they're asking questions. And it kind of made me chuckle a little bit as I was going through your laws here.
Well, because you intuitively, tap into all of them. You certainly didn't need the book, and we find that a lot of people. The book
did help.
Well, what was interesting is when the book first came out, and it's been about 7 years now. We just did a revised edition. Once it hit the 500,000 mark sold, the publisher asked us to do a revised edition. Of course, the story stayed the same, but we added a question and answer section, a discussion aspect of the book, and so forth. But what happened was, when the book first came out, the early adopters, if you will, these were the people who were already very successful business people, corporate leaders, heads of organizations, and just high-producing salespeople. And what they said, what they wrote to John David Mann, my co-author, and me, was that, there wasn't anything particularly new in this book, and there wasn't, and that they'd been doing this, the whole time. And tried to get other people to do the same thing. But the people who were already successful, they were doing this. They were doing this long before the book came out. And then what was interesting is they started giving the book as gifts to others who they were mentoring or who they were teaching, and they were buying it for their companies and their sales forces and so forth. And then we started getting the people who said, wow, doing it this way is just, has been a game changer for my business. And so, it was nice to know that, but we always understood that in writing this, there was nothing about this that was particularly new. It was simply that we put it into a story that made it very easy to digest.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think people that were, at least in my experience, people that were new into business or new into sales, like I was, I mean, even though it's not new information, it just made sense, and that it gave, at least the agents I was working with, a roadmap on how to get from where they were to where they wanted to be.
Yeah, well, and that's important, and I love that you brought that up. And this is something that that you've always done, and you teach people. It's following a system, and personally, I define a system as simply the process of predictably achieving a goal based on a logical and specific set of how-to principles. The key is predictability. If it's been proven that by doing A, you'll get the desired result of B, then all you need to do is A and do A consistently, and you'll get the desired result of B. And, of course, this is what you teach people now when you do your PR for your publicity for them, and you help them position themselves in the marketplace. And, you figured out a way to do it. I'm sure you learned a lot of it from others, but then put a lot of twists in that were congruent with your own personality and your own style. Combine that with the genuine caring you have for the people you work with, and that's a great combination. And that's a system that you've been able to duplicate and teach to others.
Yeah, it really was a journey, developing those skills and then building upon those. Mm-hmm. But having a good foundation, I can't say enough about that, and your book really does provide that. So if you are a business owner and you're listening to the show, you need to be buying this book for every single person that connects with other people, your clients, your salespeople, and I even believe, even the customer service folks, they need to get into this and read this book.
We're going to pause here for a quick break. We've been speaking with Bob Burg. Feel free to visit his website at burg.com. That's BURG.com. And we'll be right back.
In 2012, after returning home from Iraq and Afghanistan, Sean Gobin hiked over 2,000 miles of the Appalachian Trail. Recognizing the therapeutic effects of long-distance hiking, Sean founded Warrior Expeditions, a veteran nonprofit therapy program that supports veterans transitioning from their military service by hiking America's national scenic trails. Equipment and supplies are provided, as well as assistance with job placement. For more info or to help support these veterans, visit warriorexpeditions.org.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
Have you ever had the sense that your thoughts might actually be doing something? Ancient secrets of manifesting have been masterfully revealed in the award-winning book Manifesting 1-2-3 by Ken Elliott. For the first time, the author's experiences and stories in this book describe exactly how your thoughts can create anything. You've been doing this all your life, but it's never been fully explained for you until now. Visit manifesting123.com for more information today. Manifesting123.com.
Are you an author looking for publicity for your book? If you're self-published or have worked through a traditional publisher, Marianne Pestana can help you get the media attention you require. Contact Marianne Pestana, literary publicist and host of Moments with Marianne, to create a winning plan of action. Marianne has helped authors become bestsellers and has received highly acclaimed media attention for her clients. Some of her work has received attention from ABC, NBC, CNN, CBS, Fox, and PBS, in addition to print and radio. She's a specialist in utilizing social media and her list of exclusive contacts to further the reach of your work. Contact MariannePestana.com to discuss the future of your work today.
Welcome to Moments with Marianne. We're here with best-selling author Bob Burg, and we've been talking about his book, The Go-Giver.
We're not going to give it all away, and I know it's been out for a little bit, and gosh, and congratulations on, selling 1 million books. That's a big deal.
Thanks. Well, a 500,000 of these, but it's altogether it's been over 1 million. I think we're 1.5 million or something with all my books combined. But we're at the 500,000 mark with this one, and heading toward 1 million. We hope to be there within a couple of years. Oh,
I'm sure you will be, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Well, and then you have another great book that just came out this last year, Adversaries into Allies. And, I really want to spend a little time on this. I loved how you put, just how this book is put together.
Thank you.
The way that you just made it really easy for people to look at, influence. Yeah, because there's the good and the bad.
Right. There's the persuasion and the manipulation. And we want to be positive persuaders, not negative manipulators, and we also want to make sure we don't fall victim to the negative manipulator. But yeah, this one's probably my favorite book. It's kind of the book I felt I was really called to write, and that's really because really my life's mentor. I have been blessed with two great parents, fantastic mom and dad. And my dad, who was, I'm more like my dad in that we both in what we did were in the spotlight more and met a lot of people. And my dad always had these fantastic people skills. He'd meet people one time, and after they just loved him. And I think with him it was very natural. With me it was something I really had to learn. But I always say that the single greatest, and I never heard my dad say this. It's just what I observed in him, and I kind of made this quote in his honor. I say that the single greatest people skill is a highly developed and authentic interest in the other person. And that's something, that I always noticed with him when he was in a conversation. And it's something I had to learn because it wasn't something that came as natural to me. But, people skills, which is really what Adversaries into Allies is all about, people skills are just so important. It's something that, if we don't master those skills, if we don't get significantly good, let's say, at those skills, we're really behind the 8 ball in a sense because, again, technology, it's important. Talent is important. I'm not in any way saying it's not. You've got to be able to bring to the table knowledge and wisdom, and you've got to be able to do what you do well. But, that's just the entry fee for being in the game. You can have you can have the most talent. You can be of high character. You can be a very high character. You can be ambitious and kind and charitable and hardworking and thrifty and energetic and have a knack for numbers and a head for business, and all that's terrific. It's fantastic. But unless you can influence others, which really is nothing more than being able to move people to a desired action, one that benefits everyone concerned, unless you can do that, you're really not going to, your level of success, your potential for success is going to be somewhat limited. And what I call ultimate influence, which is what the book is really about, that's sort of the underlying theme, how to master ultimate influence. I define ultimate influence as the ability to obtain the results you want when dealing with others, but in such a way that you help that person feel genuinely good about themselves, about the situation, and about you. And that's what people skills, having people skills are really all about. And
it's really, it's just in everyday life, it's so important. it's kind of funny. On Amazon, one of your top customer reviews was titled, "Read this before you do something stupid."
I saw that. I saw that. That was funny.
But you know what? But it really, it's a very true statement, because the thing is a lot of times people, either they'll get caught up, there's misperceptions, there could be a lot of things that go on that where there could have been a great relationship and people working together, and it's a win-win for everybody, that it kind of falls apart. And so the first thing that you talk about is control your emotions.
Right. Well, you're right. That's really where it all starts. Control your own emotions. The sages asked, "Who is a mighty person?" And their answer was, that person who can control their own emotions and make of an enemy or of a potential enemy a friend. And, really, unless you can control your own emotions, unless you can be the boss of yourself, you're simply not in a position to be able to take a negative situation or a negative person or a potential challenge and be able to turn it into a win for everyone involved. So we need to first make sure that we master our emotions as opposed to our emotions mastering us. And this is not to say that we should forego our emotions. And I wouldn't want anybody to ever think that what we're saying is, lose your emotions, don't act. No, but we're human beings. We are emotional creatures. We are driven, and we shouldn't be, but we are driven by our emotions. That's why we need to be in control of them, because they can drive us to do very counterproductive things. But no, don't rid yourself of your emotions. Just make sure you're in control of your emotions. A good friend of mine and mentor, Dondi Scumaci, who I just love, she says, by all means, take your emotions along for the ride, but make sure you are driving the car. Mm-hmm. That's so important. As long as you're in the driver's seat, then use your emotions to enjoy life, to have fun, to have, to joy, and to all the great things that emotions bring with it. Just don't let your emotions control your actions.
Well, and then you're not reacting to something. Exactly. You're responding. Exactly. You'll be able to say, "Oh, okay, well," and just kind of let it go, which kind of takes us into the next one that you have, which is understand the clash of belief systems. What does that mean? Well,
if we were to ask the question, what is a belief, I would define a belief as the truth as you understand the truth to be, or as I understand the truth to be. That's a belief. Now, that doesn't mean it's the truth. It means it's our truth, right? Sometimes our truth and the truth are indeed the same, but more often than not, they are not the same, because we all see the world through our own beliefs, through the prism of our own viewpoint, our own paradigm. Our belief system is sort of what we could call an unconscious operating system. It's what runs us without our even knowing that it's running us. It's the way we see the world. Our belief system is a combination of lots of things. It's a combination of upbringing, environment, schooling, news media, television shows, movies, popular culture, cultural mores, actually everything we touch, taste, hear, see, smell, all of it, every experience that comes into our lives makes up our belief system. However, most of that belief system is pretty much already in place by the time we're little more than toddlers. Now, obviously, we did not consciously accept those beliefs, right? These beliefs were handed to us. We didn't know they just were, and we accepted them. And as we grow up, we accept much of what's around us and what comes into our being. So we grow up seeing the world a certain way, but how else could we? Now, here's the interesting thing that kind of adds drama to it. As human beings, we tend to believe that the way we see the world is pretty much the way everyone else sees the world. Again, how could it be otherwise? It's all we know. This is why you often hear people say things like, "Oh, everybody likes that," right? Or, "Oh, no one wants that." Well, neither of those statements are true. It means you feel that way or I feel that way, and other people do, but not everyone, certainly. Or have you ever heard someone say, or maybe you've said, I know I have, "Oh, I would never do that to someone," or "I would never treat someone that way," right? Or, well, no, we wouldn't, because it's not congruent with our belief system, but it is for others. So what happens is we need to, when we're dealing with another person, let's say a potentially difficult person or situation, it's not that we have to understand their belief system. The fact is they probably don't understand their belief system either, right? They're not consciously even aware that they're operating out of one.
Yeah,
We
they're
just
need going through the motions,
Exactly. And what we need to do is just understand that their belief system is most likely very different from ours. And as long as we do that and we approach it that way, now we're in a position where we can create the environment for a win-win.
Well, and I think, kind of going back to the Go-Giver a little bit, that really does set the platform for, again, being open to other people's perception. And
Sure.
then again, in adversaries and to allies, it really expands upon that.
Sure.
And so, and the next one you have is acknowledge their ego.
Yeah, acknowledge their ego. And now, of course,
not mine, theirs.
Right, no, because we don't have one. None of us have one.
No.
Let's talk about everyone else. No, we of course are. We all do. Now, by the way, an ego in and of itself isn't a bad thing. An ego literally is just the I. It's that part of ourself that realizes that we are a unique being, separate from all other beings and all other things. Now, that's kind of politically incorrect to say these days, right? To say that we're separate from others and we're different. Here's the thing. On a cosmic level, right? We always hear, well, we're all one whole, and which very well, by the way, could be. We know that from we read in Think and Grow Rich about universal consciousness and the mastermind, and there's the unified field theory, and that we're really all one. And I personally believe all of that. I buy into that absolutely. But none of that in any way contradicts the fact that as human beings in our human experience, we also live lives as individuals, right? We all pursue happiness in our own way. We all value different things, and we pursue our happiness as we see fit, providing we don't, and that's good, providing we don't aggress or keep someone else from pursuing their own happiness.
For sure.
Yeah, and so the ego's fine, and so when the ego is put to use in a proper way, it's what allows us to create things, create value for others. It's what causes inventions to be invented and new technologies to be created and all that. Now, when the ego controls us, but much like our emotions, right? When the ego controls the person, now it's not so good. Now it's counterproductive. Now, kind of bad things can happen. So when I say acknowledge their ego, obviously we have to acknowledge ours and make sure that we are not acting out of ego. But here's what I mean when I say acknowledge their ego. It means that if we're in a conversation or a transaction or a negotiation or whatever it happens to be with another person, and that person in some way is acting in a way that's not helpful, okay, there's a good chance that somehow their ego has been offended. And if their ego has been offended or they feel put down in some way, if they don't feel good about themselves, it doesn't matter the logic involved, they're going to do things in a way that we probably are not going to like or be happy with. So we always need to make sure that we're aware of how this other person is feeling within the conversation. And again, that's nothing, there's nothing, woo-woo or particularly politically correct about that. It's important that other people feel good being around us, doing business with us, dealing with us. You heard me say, and you've read in my books, when I say that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. And to the degree that people feel good about themselves, they're going to feel good about us, and they're much more likely to want to do things in such a way that we're all going to be happy with.
Yeah, I mean, it's when you see those things where, and again, ego does get a bad rap, but when it's out of control, then probably
Sure.
It should.
Oh, absolutely. When we control our ego, it's sort of like imagine you're on top of, you're riding a big, beautiful horse, okay, a magnificent creature. And if you are in control of that horse can go fast and go far and take you places, and you have a wonderful ride. But if that horse is a wild horse and that horse is in control of the ride, there's big trouble. Well,
yes, there is.
That's the same. That's the human being and the ego. When we're in control of the ego, well, it's great. We can direct it, and we can take it to great places, places that benefit everyone. When the ego is in control of us, it's like a wild horse being in control of the rider, and that's when things really kind of don't go the way we want.
Yeah, I could get a little bit. When that happens, what's really great about this book is then someone can say, okay, I'm taking things personally, and then kind of take a step back and, reread that chapter and readjust.
Sure.
You don't have to stay stuck,
Yeah, another book that for people who do find themselves taking things personally. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite books was a little book by, I'm sure you've heard of it and read it, by Don Miguel Ruiz, called The Four Agreements.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He had a chapter in there, one about not assuming, don't make assumptions, and that has to do with belief systems, of course, right? Mm-hmm. What he called agreements, I call beliefs. But he also talked about don't take things personally, and he really showed why. It's one thing to just say don't take anything, but don't take something personally. That's fine. That sounds good. But he actually, in that chapter of the book, goes to explaining how and why that is. And, to this day, if I find myself taking something personally and I know it's the ego at work, of course, I'll pick up that book and read that chapter, and it's a great refresher and immediately. So that's a book I really recommend to everyone.
Well, and when, because I had 100 agents nationwide from Hawaii to New York at one point, and when they would start working with me, I would send them a copy of your book and actually a copy of Don Miguel's. So I'm pretty, it's just because it makes sense, it really makes sense to, their tools. And some people, it was interesting, the people that read your book and Don Miguel's and really put those principles into practice ended up staying around.
Mm.
They ended up doing well in business and, getting beyond, maybe some things that they had issues with maybe at previous sales jobs or if they were new to it. And so it really did give a great basis for that. So and that kind of takes us to the next one we have is setting the frame. Why don't you explain that a little bit for our listeners?
Yeah, this is so important. What is a frame? Well, a frame is basically the foundation from which everything else evolves. Let me give you an example. I was at a local Dunkin' Donuts restaurant, store, whatever Dunkin' Donuts places are called, and there was a little boy, a toddler, probably 2-3 years old, and he was running around the place playing, and his parents called him over to the table. So he starts to run over, and all of a sudden he falls, he slips, He falls to the floor. Now, he didn't fall hard, and it didn't look as though he hurt himself, but he was definitely shocked. He was definitely surprised by what happened. Yeah, he intuitively understood that that's not what was supposed to happen. And he immediately looked at who? Well, the two people he trusts most in the world, right? He looks at his parents to get their response, I would say their interpretation of the event. Because he wanted to know what do I do next? What comes next? Now, I totally believe that had the parents gotten a look of panic on their face or concern, or had they come rushing over and said, "Oh no, my poor baby, are you okay?" I think he would have started crying. Mm-hmm. But what happened is the mom and dad just handled it beautifully. They applauded and they smiled and they laughed and they said, "Oh, what a good trick! That looked like so much fun!" And immediately the little boy started to laugh. Right now, what the mom and dad did was they set for him a very effective frame from which he could operate. And it's the same. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that's fabulous. To be able to set it in that space like that. Yeah.
And it's the same whenever we're about to meet or transact or deal with anyone. We can set the proper frame for a relationship that is not adversarial, but instead one of two allies. It might be in the way you approach the person, the smile on your face, the genuine welcome. It might be that you're part of a group and that the person comes in and you kind of open up the body language so that they know they're welcome. It could be a number of things. But here's the other thing, and that is, what if this person comes into the conversation or into this negotiation or into this transaction in a negative frame? One of win-lose, or one of, they're going to try to get you, or one of their, what have you. Now what we need to do is we need to be able to reset their frame. But can I give you another example?
Oh, please, yes.
Okay. Let's say you're not able to return something, or let's say you check into a hotel early and they can't let you in because whatever it happens to be, that you need to speak to, that person's not going to be able to help you, so you need to speak with a supervisor. And so you in a very nice way, and you say, if I could bother you to speak with your supervisor, it might be better that way, just so I don't put you in an uncomfortable position. And you do it in a nice, tactful way, and they get the supervisor, whose name is Miss Jones. And Ms. Jones comes out, and the chances are, Ms. Jones has to, and probably the person went back there and didn't say, Ms. Jones, a really nice person wants to speak to you. They probably just said, a customer has a problem and needs to talk to you, right? So yeah. Ms. Jones, who's the manager, who probably hates her job, and she's been there 10 years, and 10 times a day has to deal with complaining customers, right? So she comes out ready for a fight. Now, she knows she has to be polite, but she's also ready to quote the rule book and try to passively, aggressively make sure you don't get what you want, what have you. And so she comes out and so forth, poised for a battle. Now, many people would kind of say, Miss Jones, I can't believe this person's not letting me return this or not letting me check into this room, and blah, 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 and I've been doing business here, and then she has to say, well, I'm sorry, sir, the rules say that blah, blah, where our policy is, well, I don't care about your policy, and, maybe you get what you want, you probably don't, because, again, they have ways of making it so you can't get what you want, but even if you do, you've ruined the day, and your stomach hurts, and they're going to try to sabotage you some way, what have you. There's a much better way, and that is to reset their frame. So when you see her, you have a genuine, authentic smile on your face. You take a couple of steps toward her with your hand outstretched, and you say, "Hi, Ms. Jones, bob-burg. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to see me. I know you're very, very busy." Boom. You have just now totally reset that frame from being... You
have a friend for life.
Exactly. And these are the people, and I can't tell you how simple that is, and how many people write me and just say, it's amazing that worked. No, it's not amazing at all.
No, it really is just, treating people how we would want to be treated and not escalating a situation, you know?
Right.
It's really making those shifts. Well, I know that there's a number 5 to the topics in this great book. We are not going to share that. They have to go and buy the book. So,
whatever you want, I'm happy doing it however you want.
Well, do you know, and I know you just had a book release, so I want to talk briefly about that one.
Okay. Yeah, we just released the follow-up to The Go-Giver. It's called The Go-Giver Leader, and it's also a business parable. John David Mann and I co-authored it. And it's set in the same fictional town as The Go-Giver, and many of the conversations take place in the same fictional restaurant, Iafrate's Italian Cafe. Although it's never actually mentioned in the book, there's other little things that people who read the first book will kind of know. And there are a few cameo appearances, but it's actually a different story, mostly different people. This is more about leadership and what it really takes to be a leader, and it looks at the 5 keys to success in leadership. And we're very happy about it, and we're just so excited about its upcoming release.
Well, do you know, and you know, it's definitely something to go out. In fact, I'm highly recommending that everyone go out, not just one of your books, but all of them, and really immerse themselves in your information. And I know that you do corporate speaking, so any of our CEOs out there listening, you definitely need to hire Bob to come and talk to your group. He is a game changer. So
very nice. Thank you.
Well, it's very true, and I know that firsthand. So, you know, and you really have a way where, I mean, and you talk about how your father is so great with people. I mean, I think a lot of us look at you in that same exact light, because you're able to really draw people in and really hit key things that really shift their perspectives and change their lives. And from a business perspective, you know, who doesn't want more people who are feeling empowered and feeling like, you know, hey, I can do this instead of the everyday complaining, you know, and being able to get out there and make a difference and be really dedicated, not just to their work, but to the people that they serve. And your books outline that. It gives the roadmap on how to do that effectively in business. So I just can't say enough good things about you and your books, Bob.
Well, please know how much I appreciate that, and I have so much respect for you as a person and as a business person, and you know, for you to say those things, it means a lot to me. Thank you.
Oh, well, do you know, I'm definitely very honored to have had this time with you on the show, and gosh, I could talk to you for days about all of this. I mean, you are just such a fountain of information, you know, so and such a wealth of information comes from you. So thank you again for being on the show today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And to all of our listeners, I want to thank you for tuning in. Oh, and one quick thing, you want to make sure to hop over to burg.com to see what Bob Burg's got going on as far as speaking engagements. You can sign up for his newsletter. Lots of great information on his website. So you want to make sure to go over there, sign up, and be engaged. And for all of our listeners out there, I want to thank you for tuning in today. And remember, make every moment count.
Join us next time for Moments with Marianne, when host Marianne Pestana brings another inspirational gifted leader to help us grow. Tune in every second Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Moments with Marianne, when the Dream Vision 7 radio network is at 1510 a.m. Boston. Or catch Moments with Marianne every Thursday and Friday at 5 p.m. and 5 a.m. Eastern Time by going to dreamvision7radio.com. To learn how Marianne started her business from the ground up, visit mariannepestana.com. Don't miss this, and remember, make every moment count.